We're hearing more details tonight of the terrifying ordeal suffered by the hostages who were released by Hamas over the past several days. One of the two women freed late yesterday spoke of being beaten by militants and held inside a vast network of tunnels. The two women were among the dozens abducted from the Nir Oz kibbutz on October 7th. But the only ones from the group to be released so far, their husbands, both in their 80s, are still being held captive. And a mother and daughter, both Americans, were freed last week. These four women, the only hostages to be released of the more than 200 believed held in Gaza. This raising questions as to why Hamas is freeing its hostages so slowly, what the strategy may be at work, and what can be done to get more of them freed. Moments ago, I spoke with Simone Ledeen, the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, who has vast experience in hostage negotiations. Secretary Ledeen, we heard for the first time from one of the hostages released last night, 85-year-old woman who says she was beaten and forced to walk for miles through underground tunnels. She says her group was separated into smaller groups while they were underground. I know the IDF has specialized technology to deal with these tunnels, but how much does that complicate things, knowing for sure now that these hostages are being separated and spread around and they're all underground?
Well, first of all, I would say none of this is a surprise if you know Gaza at all. This is already was going to be one of the most difficult hostage rescue operations probably ever in history. So the fact that we know that there have been a lot of underground tunnels built in the last decades. We've known that Hamas has used them extensively. The fact that they've divided the hostages up into groups, potentially by citizenship groups, I think just adds further layers of difficulty.
We know that negotiations are underway for a mass release of women and children. Hamas is holding hostages as young as 9 months old. Do you think that was part of the plan all along, to seize women, the elderly, and babies as hostages?
It clearly was part of their plan. It was the main part of their plan. And to be releasing hostages in what I would call a really slow trickle, I believe is also part of their strategy. It's part of a kind of a global, what I would call a PSYOPs campaign. Already, we're hearing a really loud cry for the citizens of Gaza, and a really quieting of many voices talking about the heinous attacks against Israelis on October 7th. So the longer this drags on, the less support Israel has from, unfortunately, from the global community. So they need to act. They need to act quickly. Every day that this drags on is a victory for Hamas, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unsustainable. They can't dribble out hostages 2 by 2. There's more than 200 hostages. This could go on for a long, long time. And we're already seeing an erosion of support, even from moderate Arabs like the Queen of Jordan, who today condemned the Israeli actions and airstrikes in Gaza.
Yes, she's actually been very active on Twitter in opposition to the Israelis and in support of what she calls Palestinians. But clearly, it's Hamas who executed these attacks. It's important to note that the majority of the population today in Jordan is actually Palestinian. Palestinian, what they call refugees, although they've been born and raised in Jordan. Some of them for several generations. But yes, world support is going to continue to erode. I think this was a foundational part of Hamas strategy, and it's been executing it, very effectively. What Israel and other nations that may be involved in any hostage recovery situations, and we've seen operations, we've seen some reporting about them. They need to act as quickly as possible. The clock certainly is ticking.
All right, Secretary Ledeen, thank you so much. Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.